Welcome to today's webinar as people are pinging through. So this is all about the newly launched Heritage Innovation Fund, and it's fantastic to have so many people here on the call today. So thanks for joining us. My name is Emma and I will be your chair this morning. We will be speaking about the fund in more detail with some context, what it entails, what we expect from successful grantees with some key examples as well. And then we'll go through some practical information about the application journey for you. So before we hand over to introductions, I will introduce myself first. So hi, I am Emma. I am a Senior Engagement Manager here at the National Lottery Heritage Fund, and I'm attached to the Birmingham office. So I will hand over to Alex.
So I'm Alex Roberts. I'm Head of Innovation and New Business at the Heritage Fund based in the strategy team. And I'm handing over to Penny, I think.
So I'm Penny Ewers. I'm the Innovation Development Project Manager at the Heritage Fund and been working with Alex and a number of other colleagues on developing this fund. I'll hand over to Anna.
Hello, good morning everyone. I'm Anna Dinnan. I'm tuning in from Worcestershire and I'm looking out to see if anyone else is down the road from me. It's great to see such a variety of places reflected. I'm here as a Senior Associate of the Young Foundation. So I'm one of the team that are charged with supporting applicants through the support programme. And for those of you who don't know the Young Foundation, I will pop a link in the chat. We describe ourselves as the home for community research and social innovation, and our work is all about better connected communities and shaping a fairer future. I was lucky to be one of the Young Foundation team who carried out the discovery research, and I'm absolutely thrilled and excited to hear about all the ideas that you guys are going to be bringing to the fund. I'm handing back to Emma.
Over to yourself, Alex, with the first slide. If you don't mind transitioning, please, Lucy, that would be wonderful. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Over to Alex.
Great, thanks. So before we get into the mechanics and hear people's own ideas, I've got a couple of minutes just to cover the background to the fund, why we've launched at this time, and how it's positioned a little bit differently from our wider funding programmes and initiatives. So I think the most important thing to emphasise is that this funding has been developed drawing directly on the insights and reflections of practitioners from across the breadth of heritage right across the UK. And when it comes to this funding, what you and your peers are saying and finding sparks interest is as important, if not more so, than what we're saying, because we want to support the ideas which collectively excite and energise you, rather than tell you what you should and shouldn't be exploring. And this speaks to where this fund has come from. So over 21-22, we carried out a series of virtual workshops bringing together practitioners from all walks of heritage to explore the most pressing long-range challenges heritage was facing, what was the current innovation capacity within heritage, and finally what was needed to help further build, support and connect ideas and experimenters across heritage organisations. And you'll hear the insights shared through these workshops have directly informed the offer of support funds and time that's at the heart of this programme, that's based around a universal shared challenge area, which I'll touch more on in a moment, an ethos of shared learning and endeavour between participants, and a deliberate framing of innovation as meaningful and central to the future, as opposed to something flashy or nice to have, what we've termed deliberate strategies for heritage surviving and thriving. And we want to continue to develop this initiative alongside heritage organisations. In recognition, we too are grappling with similar challenges here at the fund that we don't have the answers to. But we're also conscious we're in a unique position as a funder to be able to help bring together organisations from across all parts of heritage in the UK to help spark and foster the connections and ideas that could begin to collectively address these challenges. And that's a key reason we've launched this pilot, with the hope we can continue to grow and evolve it further on the basis of what it unearths. Can I have the next slide, please, Lucy? So how is this different as a funding intervention from our usual kind of project grants? So we thought it'd be helpful to show where this specific initiative is positioned on the wider innovation funding curve. So unlike our traditional project funding, with this initiative, we're focusing very much at the early ideas stage of the curve. And with this initial explore phase, we're really focusing at those first 2 points. most of what we have previously funded in the context of innovation, so for example, the last round of the Heritage Horizon Awards, has been much more focused at 4.4, 5 and 6. Our discovery research showed there was appetite and need to grow the confidence and increase support available for early innovation, as well as connect it into the often systemic issues organisations are grappling with, rather than seeing it as a one-off individual project. And this means we're not expecting you to have all the answers up front and a ready solution for delivering. Instead, what we're focusing on through this initiative is supporting you, and by extension your organisation and wider peers, to explore potential ideas to a future-orientated ways of working challenge you're grappling with. So we're looking for well-considered challenges rather than fully formed projects and solutions. Can I have the next slide, please, Lucy? Before I hand over, I wanted to touch on the specific challenge theme of workforce that we've selected as the collective theme for this pilot. And whilst a host of themes emerged through initial discovery workshops, by far the most common challenge was the future heritage workforce and the skills and capabilities needed to meet the future demands and ambitions of preserving, engaging and interpreting our diverse heritage. So selecting this as a focal point felt really relevant, as it spanned all aspects across the breadth of heritage in the UK, albeit with different emphasis and focuses. It's a challenge which has been intensified by COVID, but which also has a long-range impact future lens. It directly supports and acts as an investment into you, heritage practitioners, during what we know continues to be a challenging time on both an organisational and individual level. And we know that there is appetite and urgency to do more on this going forward. So we've deliberately refrained from giving suggested challenges in the guidance, as we want this to come from you. We don't want to be overly prescriptive and inadvertently limit your scope. But we'd encourage you to think creatively at this stage and get to the root of the challenge rather than its symptoms. So maybe rather than jumping to how might you recruit a more diverse workforce, you might want to start with thinking about how wider working practices need to flex and change to attract and sustain a more diverse heritage workforce to thrive. And on the slide, for those who've got them, I'll just describe them for those who can't get them up. We've just put a flavour of the different dimensions you could look to explore, from reimagining the future of volunteering across heritage sector, for example, the role of intergenerational knowledge exchange within this, through to making the most of new technologies and approaches that streamline core processes and create better job satisfaction for staff and volunteer. So, conscious of time, I'm going to hand over to Penny, who's going to talk you through a little bit more around the mechanics of the programme.
Yes, so I just wanted to run through the available support as part of this funding program. So there are 3 key elements outlined here, which reflects what we've put out in the guidance already. The first is obviously grant funding, so you can apply for up to £25,000 for 6 months, and that's really targeted at supporting staff to explore the problem area and start to frame up some solutions. And we're looking to make probably about 30 to 35 grants at this stage of the pilot program. The second element in the middle box there is the innovation support package, which we've commissioned the foundation to deliver directly to the cohort of grantees. And that's really about trying to ensure that you have the tools and support to do this work in a really robust way. We hope that it leads to some individual and organisational skill development as part of working with the Young Foundation and with your peers, but also that it sets you up well, not just to do the work really well over the 6 months, but to look beyond that and be prepared for how to kind of take the work forward beyond this grant. And the third element there in the right-hand box is around an exchange with a peer network. And we've been really intentional from the beginning of thinking about this fund in trying to build in opportunities for exchange with peers. connecting with other pan-heritage practitioners across the UK who will be exploring pressing challenges at the same time. So everyone starts the work at the same time and will be kind of connecting along the way and supporting one another. This fund is open to non-profits, local authorities, public sector organisations and private owners of heritage who are ready and excited to trial new approaches within their organisation, focusing on that theme of workforce that Alex highlighted before. Can I go to the next slide? The flip side of that is what we hope grantees will bring. So obviously a commitment of time, and that is of the project lead, and that can be one or multiple people that will be leading the work within your organisation, but also, as you might have noted, involvement and engagement of senior sponsors within your organisation as well. We know this work can be really involved and time consuming, so we want to make sure you're ready to do that. The second thing highlighted there is an energy and excitement to engage with that support partner and cohort. That's going to be a term of the grant, but we hope will be a really enriching component of the work to sit alongside the grant funding and give you the best chance of success in the work that you're doing. The final element there is a learning and reflection mindset. And we talk about kind of learning in the open, which to me is really about testing and learning, sharing as widely as possible what works, but also what doesn't work. And that's something that we are hoping as a funder to also model. As Alex mentioned, this is a pilot for us too. And you know, we're looking at ways that we can share our own learning along the way, but we are also looking for grantees who are up for kind of working in that way and sharing what they learn, not just with cohort peers, but also more widely in the heritage sector, so that the brilliant work that you do can be useful to others beyond just those that might be funded through this work. I'm going to pass on to Anna from the Young Foundation to tell us a bit more about them and bring some of this to life.
Thanks, Penny. And for those who are following, we're now on slide 9. So I hope that helps you situate. In this one, I just want to pick up on a couple of things about the support programme, not to talk about it exhaustively, but the final design of that is going to be built around you and the cohort of applicants that are successful. So as we go through this application phase, I have to say that the Young Foundation are going to be shamelessly curious about what you're interested in, where your support needs might be, what kind of things, what's your starting point, all of these things, so that we can build out the right kind of programme for you. And it's quite likely, inevitable even, that you'll be coming at it with lots of different needs, different starting places, different experiences of innovation practice. So I have to say it's going to be quite an interesting challenge constructing that for you. But the main thing that we're trying to do is create space and time for you to develop your ideas. This came through so strongly in the discovery research as a key need, is just carving out time in the face of so many other demands to be able to think forward a little bit, to think beyond the next immediate need and to think ahead into the future. So we're going to be constructing a kind of package, if you like, that has 3 main components. That's learning with others, innovation practice and leading change. The learning with others is, you know, because I think perhaps we've all seen, but we've definitely seen the power of peer-to-peer exchange and support. And we've noted the opportunities, particularly within the discovery phase, that there's that we can stimulate more cross-heritage, sort of cross-fertilization of ideas and thinking. So that's really, really important. And we anticipate that that might lead to some interesting developments of your challenge thinking as you go through that 6-month period. So not necessarily starting and ending at quite the same point. In terms of innovation practice, that would be about sharing models, examples that offer a different lens, and leading change. This is really recognizing that innovation takes kind of courage and leadership, and it's not a leadership that's dependent on your place within a hierarchy, but it does involve thinking a little bit about what those challenges and your innovation as a solution means within your organizational context. If we could go on to slide 10, that would great. I just want to introduce, it's like peppering a couple of ideas, I suppose, in front of you, just to stimulate thinking. I'm going to start on the left. There's a picture there that's actually is a placeholder for thinking about data. So interestingly, quite a lot of you are already thinking about data-driven practice, how to get better at it, what it means for you. This is an image from an artwork, by the way, by Stephanie Posavec, who's my data heroine. So we're kind of aware of how other sectors, including those that are contingent to heritage, are really starting to get on top of large volumes of data very fast. It's really hard for us to do, especially if we're in a smaller organisation where we're already wearing kind of multiple hats. Our jobs encompass so many different things. So I'm aware of different conversations, for example, between organisations to how do we pool our resources in order to secure more data capability between us, and to think about how we manage that and how we can push that and how do we match that with the sorts of technology that's available to us, or just changes in process and things like that. The second example, many of you may already be familiar with the Forever Project, and this is an image of one of their volunteers from there. The Forever Project was run by the National Holocaust Centre and Museum, and I came across this when I was working on the Digital R&D Fund for the Arts nearly 10 years ago now. But I picked it not because of the extraordinary tech that they use for the project, which is indeed extraordinary, but it's a really good example of how clear the challenge is. The challenge in their case was that volunteers were really central to the experience of visiting the centre. They are Holocaust survivors, so dwindling in number and health. And they wanted to see how can they build in, using available technology, the opportunity to recreate that kind of experience, the liveness and the opportunity of talking to volunteers. So I think one of the really interesting things about this is it's a challenge that we can all see coming with aging volunteers. How do we safeguard their expertise and their knowledge and make that possible to pass on to future generations? It applied not just within their context, but you could so easily see how it translated into other spheres as well. And there were also then real life implications of, like, if that's the way we're going to go, how does that change the relationship between the volunteers that we still have that are coming physically into the centre? How does it change the relationship between volunteers and the public, and all sorts of things? So a really interesting possible kind of example there for you. And the third one, this looks very, very futuristic sci-fi, but is actually real. It's not a heritage project at all. It's actually an image from the Great Air Ambulance trials of a jetpack. But it's there to sort of say, look, technology is arriving, and it's already being trialed, that radically changes the way that we can think about organising where staff are working, how they're working, and all sorts of workflow processes around there. So some slightly off the wall examples there, but trying to stimulate thinking. And as we said before already, that the point is to think about the challenge and not to race ahead necessarily with all the different possible solutions, but to think really deeply about what is the challenge ahead of us, and how can we evidence it. If you go to the next slide, there's a couple of points there about the key features that hopefully these examples illustrate, but also you can think about. So a really clear evident need, but one that's not for tomorrow's sort of solving, but is a bit further long range, and you can see coming down the tracks. Definitely something that is about your real life operations, and it's not a kind of, if you like, indulging in innovation because it's interesting. If it's got the opportunity to scale and be replicable, brilliant, and contributes to new ways of working. And it might be new ways of working to heritage. It might be new ways of working that actually reach well beyond that. I'm going to move us on just because I'm conscious of time. I wanted to offer a little bit of playback because you very helpfully, when you signed up for the workshops, offered a couple of ideas, and it's absolutely fine. There were quite a lot of people who said, I don't know what we're thinking of at the moment. We've got several possibilities in play, but it's always nice to have that information come back full loop to you. So this is the little word cloud, and I'll pick out some of the key themes that are coming through. And this is not to say these are the wrong or the right themes. This is just to play back to you what you and your colleagues are already kind of thinking about. So diversity comes across as a massive preoccupation for many people. And as one of the comments asks, you know, does it include socioeconomic diversity? I can tell you that your colleagues are thinking about diversity across many, many dimensions, and thinking about what is particular in their either their locale or their sphere of heritage. And the second thing that comes through is around skills and progression routes, how to help people sustain and have a career. That comes through really, really strongly. Third thing is around digital, and it's often allied to data, or the relationship between data and digital is quite clear within some of your concerns. And then volunteers and the use of the volunteer workforce, whether that's as trustees or people undertaking kind of operational delivery or running the organisation, many, many different things, particularly around age, multi-generational or both ends of the age kind of spectrum. So just thought it'd be interesting for you to see that, and it maybe will set off thinking for those who perhaps are less sure about the direction that they want to take with this particular programme. I'm handing back to Emma now.
That's fab. Thank you, Anna. We're just running a couple of minutes behind, but just to let you know, we are taking a note of all the questions in the chat. So thank you so much for pinging them across. We've got a really great list, so that's wonderful. So on the next slide then, please. So this, we're just looking at what we're looking for. So I'll be touching upon these three key areas that we'll be assessing applications on. And we're just on slide 13 called What Are We Looking For? So the first one, a compelling long-range challenge connected to the heritage workforce. So describe to us a pressing challenge which is clearly identified, which relates to a particular area of the heritage workforce. So we're looking for a challenge that is relevant to your organisation now, but is also a long-term challenge, and that you've identified that the timeliness of it is quite clear. We also wish to see that it's relevant to your organisation and that it holds this core learning potential for other organisations in the future as well. So just moving on to that second point. So the second point about what we're looking for is innovation appetite. So this is all about participants having the commitment to learning and working in the open throughout the process. We would also want to see that a wider organisation is ready to engage with not only the findings, but also the failures that's coming out of the process too. And also tell us, you know, about the benefits you feel you will gain from working alongside the peer group throughout that process as well. So then thirdly, we've got an identified lead or leads with the capacity to engage. So we'll be looking for applicants where funding will help release time for the lead to engage with the programme, add value to the existing core work of their organisation too. And innovation is often led and championed within organisations by specific individuals, but as part of this fund, we're not interested in job titles or levels of seniority, only that the lead has a wider support and backing of the full organisation to really support them during the process and engagement of the programme as well. So those are the three key areas that we're looking for as well. So if you'd like to move on to the next slide, that'll be fab. So this is just going through the application journey, so you can really see where we're at. So right at the bottom, you've got there the pre-app support webinars. That's where we are today. And then we go on to the next stage, which is the workshops. So this will be an opportunity for organisations and groups to take part in a more interactive session. So we've got, I think, 128 by my count people on the call today. But with these workshops, there will be around 20 people as part of those, and it's there to really help shape your idea further, really help you prepare to submit your final application. We have organised the dates, and I'll go through what those are in just a moment. And there are 3 workshops available. And we've got a few sort of key things to note. So one is that it's a first come, first served basis. And as I've said, there's around 20 spaces for each workshop. And there is 1 slot or 1 space per organisation, as we do want as many organisations to really gain that support throughout those workshops as well. All 3 workshops will be the same, so you only need to sign up to one of them. And further information will be available on our website after this webinar about how to sign up to them, and just a reminder of those dates as well. So then we've got submit the full application. So this is the form for medium grants. So if you go through the application portal, this is the form, which is the National Lottery Grants for Heritage Programme between £10,000 and £250,000. So that's the form. We do have information on our website as well about how to answer those questions. So do use those help notes, and they'll guide you through what to say and what you need to include, specifically for the Heritage Innovation Fund, as you don't need to answer all of them, for example. Then we have the interview discussion with shortlisted applicants. So there's 2 sort of core decision moments. First is the shortlisting applications for interview or applicants, and then from there deciding which ones we can fund as part of the pilot programme. So you will be asked to submit as part of your application a recent CV of the individual, as we've said before, that lead who'll be leading on the project, or a statement as to why they've been chosen to lead on it. And the interviews are just gaining a better understanding of your organisational context and speaking with the lead to get a sense of what they'd hope to gain as well. And then notified of the outcome afterwards in terms of the application journey will be in December. So on the next slide, we'll just go through those key dates that we've just sort of been through. So today, on the 21st of July, is where we're at for that webinar. And then those 3 pre-support workshops I've mentioned, we've got 2 in August and 1 in September. So the 4th of August, the 24th of August, and the 13th of September. So we're on slide 15. Wonderful, thank you, Anna. And it's called Key Dates. And the next sort of phase is the decision-making phase for that. Timescales, and the key date to remember is the closing dates, I think, for the fund, which is the 27th of September. And just to note, that's 12 noon. So again, this information is all available on the website. We've got the interview period in November, decisions announced during December as well. And then during that cohort, in terms of the 6-month delivery, that will be from February to July in 2023.